live from Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome to Connections 50 Plus Wednesdays live show.
I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph.
Go. Hello, good afternoon. We are premiering again, Jennifer and Terry-Ann. Hi, Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, Connections 50 Plus.
And hi, I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, also Connections 50 Plus.
And we are here again. Jennifer, we're in the 6th week or the 8th week. What week we in of this lockdown?
Of the lockdown, I have stopped counting. But I'm counting now the week forward because we have just about 2 more weeks.
Yes, and today at least there has been a release of a path towards coming out of the lockdown. But we are on again. Lockdown or no lockdown, Connections Wednesday Live happens. Although now it's Wednesday premiere, we participate with you in the context. And we have to do a special welcome to all of our Facebook crew, the YouTube crew, and Jen, we are special people too.
And don't forget our Caribbean islands.
Definitely, all of you on Gaia, the channel. So yes. Today is a special day too. We are continuing our discussion about the listening to what our men have to say. You know, Jennifer, we would have had a fine time last week. Not last week, week before.
Week before, yes.
You know, what struck you about last week?
Well, let's say, so last week, what we spoke about, Terry-Ann, was where we were at during this COVID time, you know? So we chatted about our experience, what we have been doing or what we are doing, both personal side and the business side. Yes. So that, you know, just to include you, the audience, you know, who have been asking what's up. So we did what's up, you know. So that was, you know, that was very, very interesting after, you know, the feedback as usual has been very good. And moving forward, and we brought in why we did not have the repeat of the men program last week is because there was, you know, a friend of Errol died and we could not have him on. So we decided to do that WhatsApp. Yeah. So now we have the opportunity to have another guest who would tell us, give us the perspective of about the 5.8G men.
Mm-hmm. So let's admit to our group one of our really important partners. And here he is. Do we know who this gentleman is?
Hi, Errol.
Hey,
welcome.
Jen, hey, Terry. Yes. How are you doing? Are you good?
Good. We are just saying that we missed you last week. We know you had a tough time, but you're back on the call, you know?
Yeah, I am indeed.
Yes. And we are going to continue our discussion about this 5.8G self. And this year, living 50 to 80, we had a great panel last time. The men chatted with you. We kept our mouths shut a little bit. And
is it difficult?
No, it was not.
Okay, just checking.
We were so excited to listen to what the men had to say.
Right.
But I will admit that I heard some very interesting insights. And one of the most important, Errol, when you made the statement that men don't have the luxury of choosing, pausing and choosing. I felt special. You know? But did you enjoy that conversation, Errol?
I absolutely did. I really did enjoy that conversation. You know, kind of hearing from the other men and hearing myself too, and getting a chance to look at how life is positioned for me now. You know, I just live without standing back to look at where I'm going, where I am, and that kind of thing. And I will tell you, Tony's death really put a real perspective for me with respect to mortality and doing the work I have to do
Oh, yes.
today,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
And preparing for those inevitable occurrences.
Yeah.
Serious, which is so tied into a lot of the work we do and what we're going to talk about today. But we have a very interesting guest, and I am going to bring him into the room now.
All right.
So that we can start. Errol, just shift around a little bit, so that
Let's make room.
And Errol, as he comes in,
Down there.
hello.
hi, Ulric. So as Ulric comes in, Terry, and we will just keep our mouths shut.
A little bit, we will let Errol, this is your partner. Who is this gentleman?
This is Ulric. Now, the amount of different ways in which I know Ulric, in his professional life, in his volunteer life, in so many different ways I have interacted with Ulric. And I really know him and I really don't know him all at the same time. So Ulric have to take lead on his own introduction.
Ulric, you may be muted. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Errol. Thank you very much, Ariane and Jennifer. I'd like to say good afternoon to you all as well as to all who are on the viewing public, both local, regional, and international.
Yes.
Ulric Miller, that's my name. I am 66 years of age. I'm semi-retired. I used to tell people I'm retired, but now I've got to move towards more semi-retired because I've got involved in so many things.
You're reversal?
Yes, I'm semi-retired. I retired from the Antimacal group at Tattle Life after about 37 years of service there.
Yeah.
I am married for 22 years.
Wow.
Someone told me that 22 years is too early to boast and too late to get up.
I love that.
I have 5 children, 4 girls, 1 boy. I am an executive director on approximately 5 boards, primarily in the financial services sector, as well as property and energy.
Mm-hmm.
Have been ex-executive director and also another several number of boards, some of them in the manufacturing area. I'm currently a lecturer of anti-money laundering with the Toronto Insurance Institute. I'm a certified anti-money laundering specialist. So I lecture on one of the compliance programs, regulatory compliance. I've done ethics as well as operational risk. So those are some of the subjects that I lecture on with the Toronto Insurance Institute. I'm also current chairman of the operations committee of the NCC, and have been in that position for a number of years. The operations committee responsible for a lot of the infrastructure you see around town, not only just putting down that infrastructure, the various squares, Adam Smith, Victoria, and so forth, as well as what we put down at the Savannah, but also managing those infrastructure, especially as it relates to security and health and that kind of thing. Yeah?
Are you responsible for all the inconvenience and wait outside the hospital of us mere mortal human beings?
No, I am not directly, but I do try as best as possible together with my parade of bands committee. I sometimes sit on that committee or assist in that committee to try to alleviate that situation as best as possible.
So Ulric, when I see you with a radio in the Savannah, you're not also doing RIA to interact or rotaract to one of those people?
React. I am a volunteer at React.
Is one.
I've been involved in React for many, many years. Many, many, many years. In the days when telephones were not as prevalent, radio communication was one of the best ways to keep in touch with your home. So that I've been involved with React for a number of years, in that capacity. Yeah. So yes, Errol, when you see me in my radio, it's both React as well as the operations of the entity, making sure that we keep in touch with all of the various services, both security, all of the security services, national, as well as our localized environment within the savannah.
And he still didn't tell you everything yet, you know, Terry. Because what he failed and neglected to include is that he's just an overall nice guy.
Thank you very much. And I certainly take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
That's what goal.
Yes, in his sun hat and a pants and a little thing, chipping down the road on Carnival Tuesday. So I know.
Yes.
Ulric, I am so excited to hear how you manage all this short time that we have in a day. How you do all these things within that time.
You know, I have a mantra, and I say it all the time. Is that I am young, I am healthy, I am wealthy, and I am wise.
Wow.
And that keeps me going.
Excellent, excellent. So we are talking about, and we had, you would have seen the clips, and this is where we set the scene. Errol had an interesting conversation with two guys last time. He knew both of them. I mean, men's view of self at the 5.8G generation, this 50 to 80. And, you know, Errol, before, in terms of getting the conversation started, I mean, we talked a little bit before Ulric came on, just a few reflections on that conversation, and then we could bring Ulric in for Jen and I to learn a little bit more again about what men really think about this 5.8G.
The thing is, what came out for me more than anything else, and you hinted at it a little earlier on, Terry-Ann, is the fact that, well, I know for me and definitely the other two guys in the last chat, we don't get a sense, or we've not had a sense that it's time to rock back and relax in life at all. It's not a luxury we have as men. We have to concern ourselves with how do we earn now. Yes, some of us have annuities and different things, but what the value of that is when we were putting it down as to using it and how it will be implemented and how it will be able to support us. And as men, we still need to continue to provide. So whereas an annuity may be enough to provide for me, I still have a family. I still have grandchildren coming. I still have issues with children. When children get big, the issues just get bigger, you know, they don't go away, as we all know. So we have all of these things to take care of. And as a man, I only see it in terms of how do I continue to earn? Where's the next revenue stream? Where's the new revenue stream? How am I going to take care of what I have to take care of? And also be able to stretch my hand from beyond when I pass to continue to take care of with those who survive me. And that is what came home strongest to me coming out of the conversation we had last time. And also the fact that my vulnerability is not something that I can hide from. And I can play man when I'm playing man, but especially in my case, when there's an emotional deficit, I need to run quickly and find some help.
And Ulric, what is your experience of 5.8G?
Well, very interestingly, Errol touched on some points there that I would like to make. My definition of the self component of that starts, of course, with the S being spiritual. And I know a number of people have used that same context, but I'd like to put it in a perspective. I remember once going to a doctor office, and on the form you have to put down what religion you are, and I put spiritual. He said, but that's not a religion. I said, it may not be a religion to you, but to me, that is what that is the form that I want. And I said, well, okay, so what does spiritual really mean? I said, well, from my perspective, spiritual is a clear understanding that I am spirit in the first instance.
Okay.
And when I look at everybody else, I don't see them in the form that they're in. I see them as a spirit. And if you can see everybody in that form, right, you can treat everybody in a particular way because they represent yourself as well as the overall godliness that we understand. So it's understand spirituality from that kind of perspective of, as I say, God is everything. I am part of everything. Right? And so if you understand that concept, you deal with the spirit and the spirituality in that manner. So I was able to define my S as being spiritual in that context. My E is, and I struggle with two things, both emotional intelligence and something called enough. Emotional intelligence, that whole sense of awareness. And again, it comes back to awareness of self, because that is what emotional intelligence is about. Awareness of self, awareness of the environment, right? And, having a clear understanding of what that is. What are your trigger points? What are the things that when you get angry, for example, what triggers it? And if you are aware of those things, you're able to work with it and become more comfortable with yourself, because that is really what emotional intelligence is: being aware of your emotions and being intelligent about it. Let it inform you so that you can make appropriate and right decisions. Yeah. The other E was enough, because I have a number of people who they earn more money than they can spend in this lifetime, and yet still they're always striving for more and being ready to trample another person to get a next dollar, which doesn't make any sense. Enough, you have to know when you have enough and be content and understand that what enough is. Understand that means that when you've had enough, the rest is for everybody else, and it's to share and give to people. And that is what, I think is important and critical in understanding sufficiency. My L is legacy. And, someone once said to me, you earn all of these certificates and all of these certificates that you have over your period of study and what have you. The morning that you die, those certificates almost mean nothing because nobody else can use them, right? So why do you earn these certificates? And the only reason you earn these certificates is to help other people. When you become a doctor, your job is to help other people. You don't get a doctor for yourself. It's not about how much you earn as a result of a doctor. It's how much people you can contribute to as a result of it. So it's a legacy, because that's the only thing you are going to leave on this earth. When you leave this earth, you could have as much money as you want, you're leaving all that behind. You could have as much clothes you want, you're leaving all that. How much sneakers, you're leaving all of that behind. The only thing that will be left is your legacy. And that legacy is how many people you influence and how you influence them. That's your legacy, right? That ability to make people better in this world continuously. And that's the L in legacy. And the F is one that Errol spoke about, which is financial freedom. You've got to strive for financial freedom, where you are not bound by the economics, right? And by what goes on in the to and fro of this world as it relates to the mighty dollar, where you are financially free. You see, but how do you get to be financially free? Well, preparation. You've got to be prepared, right? For retirement, Errol talked about the preparation as it relates to things like having insurance, the importance of insurance. You know, having a whole of life, at least one whole of life. If you can get someone to buy that whole of life at the age of 14, is the best time to buy a whole of life, right? You will pay the cheapest rates, right? At that point in time, for a whole life, right? And you have an annuity and you have a health policy. You see those three things? Those from an insurance that sets you up. You've got to start looking at investing. You've got to get to the stage where money works for you while you are sleeping. Investing. Your money, they call it passive income. You must be sleeping and the money is still earning and working for you. Finding a proper career into consultancy, some kind of consultancy, something that you are always able, right, to go back to and say, look, this is an area I can contribute to, right? My anti-money laundering studies, for example, took me in that direction. So now I can consult where that is concerned to several organizations, and people will call you, right? And that's how you get financial freedom, how you get out of finding yourself in that economic bind where you're fighting the mighty dollar. You must never fight the mighty dollar, right? It must come to you. It must come to you. Yeah? So that's myself and my understanding of it. I'll pause for a while. Yeah?
Jennifer, what do you think about that self?
Actually, Ulric, as Ulric was speaking, what came to me is exactly what Connections 50 Plus is all about. Supporting the 50 plus cohorts in the different areas, Ulric. When you spoke there about financial freedom, and that's what we do. You know, you look at the economic bucket, we look at how to help them, not just in their personal financial planning, but also those who want to go into entrepreneurship. You said it too. Those who want to you can use your skills and your talent, you know, and form a career after. So at the during the 5.8 G time, and when you leave the workplace, you use your skills or what you learn from that and create a career out of it. And that's what we do. We actually offer an assessment to help people decide where they should go, you know, and how they could monetize their skills. So definitely what you spoke about, you know, we can relate to that very easily. Community. You mentioned that when, for instance, if you do medicine, you come out, shouldn't be all about the money. It should be about helping others. And that is what, in terms of our community, when we speak about community, is to go out there, help others, be part maybe of a network, and where you can really volunteer. And about self-care, you know, taking care of yourself, being able to reach out, you know. So what you have said in a nutshell is all about the 5.8 G.S.E.L.F.
Sure.
and what we at Connections 50 Plus is all about. So that's how I feel about it. And congratulations. I mean, you put it together very, very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to know that I was on the same page with
On point. Right, Errol? Just on point.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, when you hear that, what do you think? And I'm asking a question because I think back of our last panel, I think back of people we have a COVID problem, and I think COVID is the least of our worries. We have a lockdown problem that is impacting on so many of the areas, Ulric, that you've indicated that are about self. You know, that I am spirit, emotion, enough, that
Yeah.
enough business, and the issue of legacy, the man's role in legacy, and the whole issue of financial freedom. You know, Errol, when you hear those things, what do you think of?
Well, I think very much about the teenagers around me and the young people around me, because it is so important to try and get this message to those ears, because getting that message to these ears at 59 years old, you know, I think so much about having opportunity to impart to young minds about work ethic, about investment, about health, about all these things that we breeze through as young people and as young earners. And when we get, I've heard too many tickets for barbecue for people who've earned big amounts of money during their lifetimes. You know, I buy too many barbecue tickets for those things because I'm looking in the sector where I am mostly, which is show business. And so much of us get caught up with the show and ignore the business. And it is so important to get this information and these habits and this approach and this attitude towards young people. And I am surprised that there's no subject area in school that embraces this, you know, about preparing for down the road and for giving that window, that view of that life and those needs and understanding those needs when we get older. That every time I hear or think about that part of life, I think how important it is to impart it to teenagers and people who have just started earning so that they could, you know, put things in place when they could afford to, because we could barely afford to when we cross 50. The same insurance policy is almost impossible to pay for out of what you have coming in monthly. And you could have been paying pennies for it had you started it at the age when you started earning, you know? So that is what came home more to me than anything else when Ulric was talking there. How do we get this message to the ears that can make the most of it?
You know, I think that the saying "youth is wasted on the young" when you when you speak. And if I could ask both of you, and we could start with Ulric. First, Ulric, were you always like that? Your 20 to second G, Ulric, second G, Ulric, you know, between 20 and 50, what was he about? And what would you, if you were to go back there, what would you do with that young man? Because you know, here in the story, Errol, you know. So, what would you do with that young man?
Yeah, I'll tell you, and it's interesting because as I was talking, I'm thinking, you know, when you are 25, that age kind of thing, and you're in a car, you feel you are almost invulnerable. Nothing could happen to you. That car, like, it forms a shell around you, and you think it's like an armor car you drive. Nothing could happen. Traveling at miles per hour going down the road without thought about it or anything, because you're feeling so invincible in that position. And I think when you are those ages, I think there is that invincibility that comes about that clouds your judgment as it relates to a number of things. So for me, it's only when I started to get into my 40s, late 40s, that I really started to think the way I'm thinking now. and after, of course, reading quite a number of books. And that's something that, you know, if you can encourage parents to read and read and read and read, watch movies, but not just watch movies for watching movies. Watch what is the underlying motivation inside of that movie. Understand a little bit more. Always go a little bit deeper. In everything that you do, always try to go a little bit deeper. And you find that some of the learning, some of the things that come to you becomes critical, and always have that sense of wanting to learn more. Continuous learning is really the name of the game. You have to continue constantly to pick up knowledge, to gather information. It is critical and crucial and if we can get our young people to understand more of that, they will eventually get to the stage that we need to get them to. But in the first stages, it is more about continuous learning. Have that appetite for wanting all the time to get more information, to get deeper into a particular subject matter so that you understand it intrinsically. And never be afraid to take 180 degree of any subject matter. You must be able to look at it from both sides. You must be able to look at it from the pro and from the con. You must have that ability to instead of sitting in judgment. That I think is one of the problems we have in our society today. We so quickly sit in judgment when we only hear one side of a story, right? We don't understand that. Let's wait, let's hear everything and then balance it properly so that, you know, but coming back to getting it to the youth, I agree with Errol. It is.
Tell you, what will you say to the Ulric of
A 25-year-old Ulric?
25-year-old Ulric. But I would say, right, you need to do a lot more reading and to get much more wisdom under your belt before you do some of the things that you're doing now. You know, I think it's all about getting, and you know, again, as a society, we discard our old people. In formed societies, the old people were the wisdom of the society. I always remember doing a negotiation with some old Chinese persons. We sit down doing negotiation, and in front of you're facing them, and in the front row, they have some real bright young men, straight out of university, sharp as a tack. Sitting behind them, there's some old men, really old men, and these guys were sitting down there, and they would only lean forward and whisper into the fellas in front, whisper into their ears. And what they were telling them is they look at your body language, and they know when they've hit a particular trigger spot because of your movement and how you fold your arm, or how you relax your arm, or how you look at the other person next to you. That's all they're looking at, your body language, and they were guiding those young boys because those fellas in front, they had all the information and all that. The guys behind, the wisdom. And you know, it's for us to understand some of these things, learn from some of these things. So important and crucial. So coming back, talking to me, it's that ability to understand what wisdom is about.
You know, Ulric hitting something there that, you know, so I talk about the guys who study the show and not the business. And Ulric talking about learning and putting away and investing and so on. But some of us, none of us have all of the capacities. So we have to learn from young to be able to ask for help and get help in the areas where we need help. Because we cannot possibly have the capacity to do everything. And we must understand where our strengths are so that we can get them stronger. And very important is to get help for where our weaknesses lie. Because if we are to be whole, we need help with some things. And is to know and understand where those areas are, where the gaps are, so that we can invite a Ulric to help us with his expertise, a Terrian with us, a Jennifer with us, if you want to laugh, at Errol or whatever it is, you know, but to understand what we need for our wholeness.
But
I think
if I can ask Errol a question, and pointedly, and I mean, this is the men speak. If I have an image of you, Errol, walking out of Paradise Cemetery, and you were going back to school, I don't know where you were going, because you were going to Napton. You used to make the walk across Urban Park to go in. And walk
through the cemetery.
Yes, very reflective. It might have been evening or something like that. And you had your big afro, and I don't know, Gabrielle and I, and everybody was walking behind or some kind of thing like that. If walking across Urban Park, that young man was to meet you, what would you say? And Ulric, if you stop next to that young boy in the car, and you in your car, and somebody stole in front of you, what would you say to that young boy, Errol?
Well, I would first try to get his trust, because that young man was not a very trusting young man.
Okay.
I would really try to get his trust and befriend him, and then try to say something to him, because I would want to tell him so much about how beautiful he is and how powerful he is and all the things that are ahead of him before I start trying to tell him the how-tos. Because if he doesn't have a sense of that self, and if he doesn't trust me as an elder, then we wouldn't get anywhere. So I'm going to assume now that I've gotten beyond that. I want to tell him 10 cents out of every dollar you make, put it away. You only earn 90 cents when you earn a dollar. Put away 10 cents. I want to tell him that the woman that he's going to meet in life, that he has to cherish them, and he doesn't have to have all of them. I want to tell him, because I would know that he's already experimented with drugs, and I want to tell him so much to try and leave it alone, to just wait a little bit and see if you really need that. I want to tell him that he has to become and will become a pillar upon which so many lives will depend and so much will rest, and that he has to build his strength for when the day comes. Yeah. And that's before I even tell him anything else about reading and things, because that will be the rollout of those things.
Yeah.
But I will also hug him so tightly and keep him so close to me that he can't get away, and he will never drift away into anything that will become wasteful in his life.
Wow.
Now that's so powerful, you know, really powerful. And, you know, very emotional. Huh? It is very, very emotional talk there. And what I'm hearing, because definitely we need to reach out to the youth to help mold them, because at this stage, at our stage right now, at 50 plus, we have the experience, we understand now, you know, where we may have gone wrong as a youth.
Yeah.
Now as an adult, we appreciate now our strengths, our weaknesses, and we now have to, still at this stage, we have to reach out for help to understand certain things, because as you say, we're not totally, we don't know everything, all right? And we need to balance ourselves also before we can reach out. You said something that was, I mean, definitely powerful, and as adults will help us now as we reach out to anyone. First, understand that trust. build that trust. You know, before we go offering advice and just saying, you know, we know it all, and we get go with that sort of attitude. What you're saying there, when you look back at your young self, or what you would say to your young self, we at this stage as adult could definitely go on that same path to help and to reach out, because that trust and not judging, it is so important for us. And then after that, then based on our knowledge, you know, then we can help out and say, okay, and guide them and refer them to the others who may have that sort. Where we fall short, we really guide them to those who have that knowledge and skill to really make it. And share stories. I definitely believe in sharing our stories. You know, I use that a lot in chatting with others. Share the stories. It's not always good, but in telling that story, they learn so much, you know? So, well done, Errol, Ulric, your youthful self. You all are now adults looking back. But guess what? You have so many years ahead of you. Yeah?
Let's hear what Ulric will say to that young man at the traffic light and the car stole in front of both of you.
Well, you know, it's basically what everybody is saying, but it starts with, you know, someone once said that the teacher appears when the student is ready.
Yes.
And it is getting that young man in a state of readiness. Because throughout his life, he is going to be approached by several teachers, but he has to be ready. He has to be in a mode to absorb and to be able to accept.
Yeah.
Right? And it's getting the student in that frame of mind. And it's correct. Errol is correct. You've got to, first of all, engage the individual. You have to engage the individual. And you can't engage someone when you criticize them or when you start from a point of view of, listen, young man, I know it all. You cannot engage anybody with that kind of mindset. You engage people with empathy, right? With putting yourself in their position, with understanding.
Yeah.
Because may have walked, I would at that stage would have already walked that road. So you understand some of the challenges that that individual with. I had to mentor a young man from URC. He would come to my office at CONEC-TIONS there on several evenings after school. He would come and he would sit down. He had many challenges, and I would sit and walk him through and talk to him about some of those challenges. You know, he's not being able to talk to his father, he's not being able to communicate with those at home. And this is a bright young man, a very, very bright and articulate young man, but he, you know, understanding that ability. How do you communicate? How do you listen? The ability to listen is a key component for young people. You know, long ago, we had the fireside. When you go, you know, all your grandparents, and when they allow you in that environment, and you have the opportunity to sit there, and they would tell you, hush and listen, right? And they would be talking about their various experiences and what have you. And your job was just to absorb at that point in time. We no longer have those things. But we need to have a methodology where we can have young people in an environment where they understand communication, they understand to be still, to be quiet, and just absorb what is going on around you, right? And if we can get, I think getting a lot of young people into things like meditation and that kind of stuff is so, so very valuable. So very valuable if you can get them to sit still.
To add back at the 5.8 G stage.
We can get them to sit still. And I always say, you know, now is all there is. Right now,
Yeah.
the now. We've heard talk about now, N-O-W. That now is all there is. And get to understand and appreciate that. Live in the present. The past is gone. The future is not yours. The now, the
Yeah.
present. Make the most of this present now. And if you could learn to have fun in this present now, have fun in this present now, the more of the now fun times you have, your life experience is going to be so much better. A life is the sum total of all your experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love that fun, Jennifer, because with yourself, that F is,
F was fun. I totally agree with that. Because you need to have fun in life, you know? And I like now is the time, you know?
because as we plan for our 5.8 G cells, you know, if about the statistics go, all right, it's 30 to 80 is a full 30 years, is another adult life to prepare for so much. And you know, the reflection is so important, because if you as men, that is such an emotional encounter, you know, you step back and you go into different times. And I think, Jennifer, even if we think of doing something like that to our 20-year-old self or so, and I know that young lady watching me and walking off. So
Understand?
I gotta
Yeah.
but we are almost in that position, because if we as 50 plus looking on at another 10, 15, 20, 30 years, we are very much like that individual just about to start. And a lot of us think that we coming forward with, yes, we do have a lot of skill and experience from the second act, but in the world going ahead, especially now with the
Right.
with COVID and the lockdown, I put them together, different things.
They call it the new normal.
Yes.
And what will advise us and give us insight and guidance? It has to be some kind of collective, you know. It's really fascinating. I mean, I'm blown away every time we talk to these men. I don't know, I am blown away. Thank you both so much. Thank you both so much.
You know,
That's
and
right.
speak Ulric too, at the start in, you know, your self, and you spoke, the L was legacy. And what we just spoke about, it's so important to leave that type or create that type of legacy. Not just so we're not dealing with the money aspect, because, you know, when you say legacy, they think about the millions you're going to leave, but the values, you know, the value, a legacy of such great, the values going to make a difference to the generation, you know, and that definitely came out there.
Something that occurred to me from Ulric's talk too about constantly learning, that we cannot exclude learning from our children, because we
Yeah.
teach them so much coming along. And there's a time when we have to lay ourselves open to learn from them, because theirs is not the world that we know.
Oh, yes.
And theirs is not the world that will embrace us in the winter of our years, not that we're in the autumn of our years. But that we must grow that humility to learn from our children.
Yeah,
So true, Errol.
Yes,
Definitely.
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 Learning from children is I would say a school of itself, primarily because you have to be emotionally intelligent enough to put aside
Oh,
your
yes.
ego, the big ego that says, I am the parent and you are the child. And you can't teach me nothing. I hear longer than you. You know,
Yes.
it is understanding how you put that, push that to one side and open yourself to the fact that out of the mouth of babes, you know, out of the mouth of babes. And so these are the things that become more important as you go from stage to stage. and that appreciation and that understanding of a certain aspect of life,
Yeah.
right? That you need to be open to.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Errol, any other reflections?
I'm tired. No, I'm sitting here and so much is going through my mind, Terry. One of them is, why didn't you call me? When you see me at my afro going through by the cemetery, oh, why didn't you call me?
You know the group that was walking behind. It was Abby, me, Denise, you're a Naps boy. We were convent girls. We not
Convent girls.
Convent girls.
when we bounce up in Naparima Bowl and be dancing or we do some we'll talk to you. But in you we not calling.
But Errol, look at the positive. After how many years she did call?
There you go.
You know?
It's been a road that kiss we keep calling each other at different stages.
That's right. That's
Now
right.
you wonder, Errol, why she's calling you so often. You know?
But going back to it, the young man who was walking through there, through Irving Park and through the cemetery, and who walked the road he walked, void of the conversation I would have had with him,
Mm-hmm.
had to walk where he walked also,
Yeah.
to possess some values to impart. You know, we want to spare our children from running into the walls we ran into, or falling into the fires we fell into, but they have their own walls and their own fires that have to govern them and to mold them into the very persons who we're going to learn from as we enter their world and we become more and more dependent on their caretaking of us. You know, so at all stages, there's a certain amount of respect, a certain amount of gentileness, and a certain amount of openness that must be in our role as a parent teaching and as a parent learning. And it's important that we spread that to all of the young people we come in contact with when we are the teacher and when we get into that place when we are receiving, you know, because without having lived what I have lived, Terry wouldn't be calling me to be in this conversation to begin with. You understand? So we have to try to protect these young people while watching them run into a wall or two because they need to, because it's what is going to build their muscle memory and their psychological memory and their frame of reference so that, you know, that they can be okay too.
As I said, I know if I was to walk up to that girl walking through the cemetery and going in Urban Park, excuse me, I flashing, give me a break.
I think to take Errol's point, you can only protect so much. There's a point in time you really have to allow the experience to teach. You know, maybe walking into that wall will be an experience that will teach. And you know, the thing is that I think everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. Right? And you just have to understand that life is an element and a structure that just simply continues. It will continue from now to now to now, from this now to the next now to the next now. It will continue, and not get hung up on what happened, you know, 20 years ago in the past. Don't get hung up on those things, but recognize that the now is where you must have your fun. You know, I always, I remember reading about an astronaut who, as he went out into space, recognized, first of all, the town that he was from, and as he grew further out, he recognized the area he was from. And as he moved further out, he realized the country he was from. And then he moved further out and realized the world he was from.
Yes.
And then this little blue marble, or this dot, into this wide open space, right, of all different other planets that yet up to now, we don't know if it have all kinds of other things on those planets. We don't know.
Yeah.
But when we sit down in here, when I sit here, I think I am the world. And maybe I am. Yeah? But that's how, but that's, you know, so you think that way, everything is about you and that kind of stuff, right? And really, if you were to focus on so much more that is outside of you, right? And how you impact on everything that is outside of you, and how you allow everything outside of you to impact on you. And that feeling, that flow that goes between yourself and the rest of the universe, so to speak. If you can understand and start to learn how to communicate in that kind of realm and that kind of with that kind of ability, it is so powerful. You know, and teaching children how to do these things. We don't teach these things in school. We get children ready for the logical side of things. We don't get them ready for the spiritual and the other subconscious layer and emotional and all of those things. Those are the schooling that we really need.
Ulric,
You know?
I tell you, that is a then, but we have a challenge now because there are many 5.8G who are as resistant to understanding and appreciating to prepare for this next stage, which is your present now. Because we're looking at an immediate past now. And it's I mean, we can look at the young and so on, but there is a real challenge to,
you know, when reality hits you, when you realize that no pension is enough. I don't care how much you think, you know, I'm going to live for my pension. I worked 37 years with an organization, so I mean, my pension wasn't too bad. But no pension is enough. So you've got to figure out ways and means to increase and improve that if you really want financial freedom. So once you take that individual at 40 and put him to sit down, and if you can do it earlier and put him to sit down and say, okay, this is how much you're earning, right? These are the things that you have. This is what your expenses are on a monthly basis. What do you think is the pension you should be getting in order to allow you to have financial freedom?
So,
When you start out, different thing. Yeah.
Ulric, you think that is something easy to do, huh? And we, you know, it is quite interesting when we say that, because sometimes we have, I mean, really been addressing, because we're dealing with the 50 plus, addressing that issue of financial freedom at the 5.8 G stage. And so many, even at the stage now, when you chat with them, somehow they feel they still have time. You know, they still have time, and they really need to face the reality. But this is what we're going to be chatting about, getting people ready, you know, getting our cohorts ready for being on the next stage, right? But because of time, I just want to thank Errol and to thank you for such insightful conversation, you know, and we have to play this for the youths also. Eh? We have to let them listen to this conversation. They would learn so much from it. Just as how I agree we have to listen to the youths also, but we should let them, you know, share this with them. But before we actually close off, we on next Monday, we are having a webinar. This is Connections 50 Plus called the 5.8G post-COVID blast-off. So we're going to be chatting after a bit about it to let our viewers know about it. But Ulric, before you leave, could you just, share probably a bit, a tip what's happening, what should we expect, or how should they start to prepare for post-COVID? And this is the 5.8G cohort.
Oh, the issue with COVID-19, the big issue is how soon can we find a vaccination? Because until you find that, you are going to be consistently in an environment that is not safe. And in terms of COVID, being ready for that, there is a three-step approach that all, as an individual, you've got to take. It's 3 steps, and it's very easy. You sanitize, right? The washing of the hands, the sanitizer, sanitize. Wear your mask at all times. Mask, right? And the last one is your social distancing. It's a 3-step. Sanitize, mask, social distancing. And once you understand that 3-step approach, you are generally going to be safe. You're generally going to be safe. And so post-COVID, I think those are the things that are going to come out for most organizations that are getting ready to reopen. It's ensuring that there's sanitization before you get in, that you have your mask, and that you keep your social distancing. And that, I think, and other than that, those of us who have the ability to work from home, the remote worker, embrace it. And let's move. We're going to be moving in that direction. More and more, we are going to see technology coming into the space to allow us to do things, to allow that social distancing to take place. And we have to embrace it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ulric. We look forward, probably Terry-Ann again having Ulric on.
Yes, I mean,
we love hearing from the men. We love hearing from you. Okay, Errol is so we are saying thank you so much, Ulric. We look forward to having you again. It was really, really beautiful sitting and chatting with you. And Errol, we haven't left you out, but I think you were staying on with us a bit.
I think I am.
Okay,
right.
So we just saying bye to Ulric for now. All right.
Yes. Bye, and say thank you very much, Errol.
All right, partner.
Thanks a lot.
Just right.
And you guys take care. All the best.
All right, bye, Ulric.
Stay safe, everybody. Stay safe.